And we are live. Hello to all my guys, gals, and non-binary pals of audio and the YouTube lands. And welcome to another episode of the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast. I'm so excited. This is going to be a fun episode. I am your host, one of your hosts, Mikey. I am the founder of Tri Productions, and I am the unofficial captain for this ragtag group of professional wrestling fanatics. You can follow me all over the social medias at Pop Culture Geek. You can also follow all of us collectively at Tri Productions across the social medias and the YouTubes. You want to make sure to give us a follow and a subscribe in order to stay up to date on everything we got going on, especially this podcast, because we got a lot we're going to talk about. I'm excited for this episode because there's going to be some laughs. I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be yelling at some people. It's going to be a good time. Par for the course here at the Bi-Conics. But we're going to go around. I'm going to have my other co-hosts introduce themselves real quick. And then we're just going to jump into all the goodness that has been happening since our last official recorded episode. I have decided that eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Evan, you shall be the first to go.
Damn it, I wasn't ready. How's it going, guys? Hi, I'm MiniWaz2218, or known as Evan. However you want to do it. I'm all the socials under that. You guys can find me, whatever. So follow us collectively, Bi-Conics at Bi-Conics1 on Twitter. We haven't made anything else yet. We're still working on that. I am also here. I run a Walk Among Gods, a D&D game. I'm the one that runs that. I'm also on the Academy. But right now, we're here for the Bi-Conics. Yeah.
I really love it. Alrighty, let's keep it going. Next up, John. You already broke the rule, man.
I already broke the rule. I was trying not to. No.
This is John disappears.
This is John. Good. If you couldn't tell, I'm fighting some technical difficulties because my laptop's catching on fire. My name's John. I'm on a handful of things here with the Vibe Tribe. I finally jumped on TikTok again. You can find me there if you know how to spell my last name. Good luck trying to figure that out. I'm excited to talk about a lot. We were discussing before we started how long it's been since we've been here to talk about and all the things that have happened. And there's a lot of opinions you're going to hear. And hopefully they're articulate and they make a lot of sense. So I'm excited to be here.
And then, of course, last but certainly not least for this episode is Adolfo.
What? Oh, that's some old school bushwhacker shit right there. My name is Adolfo, the nerdy Puerto Rican.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, bushwhackers.
Rest in peace, bushwhackers. And you can see me here on the Vibe Tribe, Brave New Worlds, Divergence, Neon Memories, the Academy, and here, Bi-Conics, talking about the wrestling.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have that LA Night disease? It just comes out of your mouth now? Yeah.
It happened at WrestleMania with me, and it became a thing, and here we are now.
Oh, so you've been dealing with this for weeks then?
Oh yeah,
it's become their mating call apparently.
That's good to know.
We would start yelling. We like every time that we said it at the Superstore or at any arena. There's about 15 other people that also started doing it. I just realized though I'm mad because I didn't yell a shoes once. No shooses, and I was mad that I didn't do it.
It's like shoo.
I will say the call and response game over the last few pay-per-views has been top notch. Even Backlash, like some of that was wow, well done.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about that one. But unfortunately, we do need to address the elephant in the room. JVL is better than us, so he has other things that he thought he can do. So that is why he's not here tonight. Loser. No, I'm just kidding.
No, JVL's here because it's Mother's Day and he's doing the right thing, and we are not.
See, I celebrate Mexican Mother's Day, so that was like not on a Sunday.
Oh, that's fair. I had to negotiate with the wife to be like, can I go for a while to do this thing? Thank you, happy Mother's Day, bye.
I would like to take this time as the Vibe Tribe founder to, if any of the spouses of our hosts or girlfriends or friends are listening to this podcast, I would like to thank you for letting me borrow your husbands, your boyfriends, your homies for a little bit every once in a while because they are amazing and I appreciate your time. And I promise when this thing takes off, I promise I will be taking more of their time. Nah, it's all good.
That'll do it, Mikey. Good job. Good job. That'll fix it.
No, but in all seriousness, JVL is being a better man than I am and is celebrating at the time of this recording Mother's Day with his mother. which is beautiful. He said he'll send me pictures later. So I was just like, I can't wait. I see Mama JVL. It's going to be beautiful. But, well, he may or may not pop up in here later, depending on time. I don't want to rule that out yet. But let's get into it. So we got a lot we're going to be talking about this episode. We're going to talk about Backlash that at the time of this recording happened like a week and a half ago or last week. Time is a blur, you guys. We're going to give our thoughts and opinions on Backlash. Then we're going to jump over to the land of AEW. We're going to talk about what's leading into Double or Nothing, AEW's next pay-per-view, or the lack of build to Double or Nothing, because other than one match, there has yet to be a lot of things that have yet to be announced, and they always do this to the pay-per-views. And I'm like, you guys, I'm like, come on. And then we're going to talk about whatever else we feel like, but let's just jump right into it. All right. So I briefly want to touch upon this first before we get into the goodness at Backlash, because Backlash, I think, is in the general consensus among the hosts was pretty stellar. It had no right to be as great as it was, because I was going into it, oh, it's a filler pay-per-view. It's going to be whatever. And then it exceeded my expectations, and I was like, gosh dang it. As of right now, it is somewhere in my top 3 pay-per-views of this year, and it's only halfway through the year.
Well, it had that same energy of WrestleMania Night 1, right? Like, it was fired up. At least to me. You were there, so you're biased. But at least for feeling the energy come through the screen and the crowd and everything else and everything was paying off. I admit I didn't watch it all in one sitting. I was working out at the gym, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll put Backlash on. And then 45 minutes went by, and I was no longer doing my workout. I was watching Backlash. Wow, never going to get ripped if I'm watching ripped people. So I took a break and came back to it. But that was that same energy was there, and it was palpable. It was really impressive.
It was so good.
And I think that the general consensus around the wrestling news media sphere is the same, that it was outstanding. I know that in WE land, it is the number one most watched Backlash. They broke records on that. It was the number one most attended Backlash. They broke records on that. But the proof is in the pudding, in that a week and a half after Backlash, not only us, but other wrestling outlets are still talking about Backlash.
Backlash was really awesome, and we're going to get into it because I may or may not have cried at certain parts of Backlash, and I'll get into those reasons.
If you weren't crying after, yeah, there's certain moments where if you weren't crying, you had no soul. Come on. The storytelling was so good.
It was awesome. And you know what? This pay-per-view was great for a lot of people. This pay-per-view gave a lot of shine to people we normally don't see on these cards. And it was a good, I don't even want to say it was a good coming out party, because they've been wrestling for a very long time. It's just now that they got the spotlight and they showed it was great. But before we get to Backlash, we do need to talk about the elephant in the room. And
there's another elephant. There's 2 elephants in this room.
There were 2 different elephants, one on a Friday night, one on a Monday night. And yeah, let's just go into it.
Go ahead. Go get him. Go get angry. Get angry. Go get him, Mikey.
We're going to talk about it because if you listen to the last 2 episodes prior to this one, you were listening to our live commentary in the middle of the WWE draft, in which the brand split was happening. Not even. We're already having issues, and it's barely not even a week out from the draft, and we're already having problems. But for those of you who are like, what's a WWE draft? The short answer is you really don't want to know, but we're here. It is our obligation to tell you. So the WWE draft is like any sports draft, in which the superstars are either drafted to Raw or SmackDown, and in some cases can become a free agent, which is just the WWE's way of saying, we don't have anything for you, so we're going to figure out what we're going to do, or you're going to job, or you're going to be enhancement talent for a lot of these stars. So go figure. So night 1 happened on the SmackDown, and night 2 happened on Raw, in which after both nights were done, and if you didn't listen to the last 2 episodes, there are many questions I have. Go ahead, Adolfo.
No, I was just going to interject. I found out the real reason the business reason why they do the draft. I don't. Did you guys? Do you guys know? Or
Ooh, go ahead.
There's
tell
a
us.
business reason for it to be boring as it is.
there is a business reason as to why they do why they did the draft. So the reason why they do the draft is because you have Monday Night Raw, which is on
The USA Network.
USA Network, and then you have SmackDown, which is on Fox. And when the WE was negotiating these shows to be on the air, they started to complain because they didn't want the really good talent to just be on one show and not another show, because it's not just the WWE that's making money off of this, it's also the networks that's making money off of this. So what they did was they instituted the draft so that you had a even split of superstars on each show.
Which makes sense. And then we're already seeing that they're having issues keeping, they're like, oh, these brands are going to be separate. No, they're not, because we already have issues as it is now. And we're not even a week out from the draft.
I feel like it's gonna make waves, and the writers got to catch up, and the storyline's got to catch up, and I'm totally okay with that, and I get it. My issue was, if you're gonna have a draft, and you're gonna try and make it like an NFL draft, how they have 4 days of coverage and everything else, you have to have presenters who care about what they're presenting.
And not have the cards upside down.
You had the cards upside down, and at least make a showing of it. Sell it. Like, Shawn Michaels looked bored, and I love you, Shawn, but if you're gonna read off a card, maybe someone should tell you what you're reading before you try to read it. A lot of folks just look like, oh yeah, I'm here to announce this thing. Yay, I'm in Jacksonville. It's like, why? If you're not enthusiastic about it, then why should we care?
That's very true.
They couldn't sell it, and the audience a lot of times fell flat until someone was announced or everything else. And I think some of the matches those nights suffered. All the matches became filler as opposed to being in the moment.
Absolutely.
Sort of thing. That's a hard sell. Like that's clunky. It didn't go off the way I think it should have.
I don't think that they even wanted to do the draft to begin with. That's I think why everybody was like, fuck this.
What they should do is make it a real draft and send them to North Korea. I'm kidding. What they need to do is make it a draft.
Wow.
They need to make it a draft where it is legit unexpected. You're like, okay, fine.
That's how they used to do it. Like when Undertaker got drafted to SmackDown at one time and threw a fit in the background, nobody knew he was going. Like people don't know.
That's the thing. We either got to raise the stakes, or you need to make all these folks buy into that world of the draft and the thing, and this is a possibility. And then I know it. Like I don't want to see something like the New Day split up. I don't want to see groups and factions that are carrying a lot of weight not that New Day is right now, but like I don't want to see that stuff split completely. But at the same time, you got to do, if you're gonna try and sell me this NFL draft first pick, second pick stuff. And I want to see negotiations. I want to see war room stuff. I want to see agents call and chat. I want to see wrestlers get upset about this. I want to see trade picks. I want to say Rod has jumped from this pick to that pick. I want to see it get a little heated, maybe, instead of just, hi, I'm going to read off a card because I got paid money.
I love that idea. I just don't know how well they can pull it off with only 3 brands.
They did it with 2 brands back in the early 2000s when they.
But it wasn't like that. Like John wants to be like almost an NFL feel to the draft. What makes it like, you can have the war rooms and you can have some of that discussion. Is this going to be, Raw has traded his second pick to get the third pick. He's picking next. What? There's only 3 brands.
I agree. I think you got to dial into what Adolfo was saying and this would never happen, but I would have a USA executive and a Fox executive. And one is represented by this talent person. One of them is represented by this talent person. And go, who do we want? We're trying to trade up for someone right now. Who you trying to get? We're trying to get this and this. Have you been on the phone with anybody? Even if it's scripted, I don't care.
Yep.
Sell me the fact that something is at stake.
And again, this would never happen, but I would also like it to work like a triangle, because Raw and SmackDown, we'll get into the list in a little bit. They called up a lot of the NXT kids now that are on the main roster. But if you want to make it more interesting, be like, okay, these superstars are going to be sent to NXT for a little bit to try. And it's just, it's To me, being sent to NXT is not a death sentence. I view it as if you're a main roster superstar being sent to NXT, I view it like how a lot of the Japanese promotions do. Like they send their Japanese wrestlers to America on excursions to learn different style and to develop their characters. And it's not a punishment because then when they come back, oh my gosh, it's a difference of night and day because they learn from all the different wrestling companies and things that they do. So I feel like if you treated going to NXT that way, it's just, hey, so you're a veteran. We're going to put you against the new kids so you can teach them, but also maybe learn some things and just be down there, like all that stuff. Because like when Finn, I mean, towards the end of Black and Gold, but when Finn came back down and won the championship, I mean, he's in Judgment Day now, and I think it took me a while to get used to that, but Finn Balor in his second title reign in NXT was amazing. Like it revitalized because he was getting lost in the shuffle. And for me, it revitalized him. But speaking of the draft, so I'm not going to go over who got picked in round one. We're just going to go through the whole thing real quickly and then get everyone's thoughts and things like that. So after the draft, here is where everything stands. So on the Raw men's roster, which is going to have the World Heavyweight Championship, which we'll talk about that in a hot second because that's also a shit show.
Oh, the
and
brain
I also
title? The title that looks like a brain?
Yes. I also have some questions.
It's the Krang title.
It's the Krang title. I also have some very deep and troubling questions after what I sent to us at the end of Friday. I was like, I have questions about this match happening at Night of Champions, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. So the Raw men's roster includes Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, The Miz, Shinsuke Nakamura, Dexter Lumis, Apollo Crews, JD McDonough, so Apollo and JD coming up from NXT, Seth, Bronson Reed, Johnny Gargano, Akira Tozawa, Riddick Moss, Jinder Mahal coming back from NXT, and then Odyssey Jones being called up from NXT. On the women's division for Raw, you have Becky. While she's no longer the NXT Women's Champion now, but Indy Hartwell from NXT got called up, Candice LeRae, Natalya, Zoe Stark getting called up from NXT. Your Women's SmackDown Champion, Rhea Ripley, is now on Raw. Cool. Trish Stratus, Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, Piper Niven, Xia Li, Tegan Nox, and Emma. On the Raw Women's Tag Division, who I give credit to whoever broke it down between like singles, tag divisions, all that. Your Women's Tag Division on Raw includes Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who are your current Women's Tag Team Champions, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, and from NXT, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. On the Raw Men's Tag Division, this is actually what I'm interested in. You have the Viking Raiders with Valhalla, the Maximel Models, Sammy and KO, the Judgment Day, the New Day, Ricochet and Braun Strowman, Alpha Academy, Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, and Indus Sher. And then that is the Raw side, so we'll get into that in a little bit. Now going over to SmackDown. The men's division for SmackDown is Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Edge, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Austin Theory, Karrion Kross with Scarlett, LA Knight, Rick Boogs. From NXT, Cameron Grimes, and also from NXT, Grayson Waller. Which, by the way, I feel like SmackDown is using their NXT talent almost immediately, which is great. In the women's division for SmackDown, this is crazy because there's not that many. You have Bianca, who is your current Bianca Belair, who's the current Raw Women's Championship. You have Mia Yim, Lacey Evans, Charlotte Flair, Asuka, Shotzi, and Tamina. That's it. In the SmackDown Women's Tag Division, you have Damage Control, your current NXT Women's Tag Team Champion, Alba Fires and Isla Dawn, and that's it. In the men's division, you have the Street Profits, the Good Brothers, Hit Row, the Usos, the LWO, the Brawling Brutes, and from NXT, the Yes Boys, Pretty Deadly. And then, finally, your free agents who are allowed to be on both brands because of reasons. Omos with MVP, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler from NXT, Von Wagner, Brock Lesnar, Baron Corbin, Shelton Benjamin, and Cedric Alexander, Elias, and also from NXT, Zion Quinn. So let's just talk about the one thing that stands out to me. What the fuck is happening with this women's title situation? You have the opposite champions on the opposite brand, and we have still yet to get an explanation of what the hell we're doing.
And it looks, I gotta look again. As you read off the names, I was reminded, it looks like one of them is way more stacked than the other. If I'm not...
Raw women's division has more women on it. SmackDown's women division only has
That's what I'm trying to pull up.
women.
Yeah.
Seven
It's
women
just
in the singles division.
Such a smaller pool when you say it that way. And it's, you don't have a lot of room there.
The bright side is we get to see Shotzi more in SmackDown.
Hey, Shotzi.
We're gonna see her. Yeah, that's true. We're gonna see her. We're gonna see her a lot more and lose a lot, fortunately.
Could that be the reason that they just want to push those 7 more to give him more slots? But I don't feel like they're just going to give up time.
Okay, so I'm excited and I'm still confused, but I'm excited because it seems that Bianca and Asuka are going to be fighting again. So I'm not upset about that. But
I'm fine with that. Totally fine with that.
I will be okay with this short build because I think we're probably going to get them at Night of Champions, if not at SummerSlam or even Money in the Bank. But my only point of contention for this whole build again is Asuka needs to win this one. Because if they have her lose again, that's it. Asuka, I'm like, girl, you need to get out of there.
Yeah.
Especially when Asuka... Go ahead, Adolfo. Go ahead.
No, it's the whole, all the freaking titles in WWE right now is just kind of like, "Gah?" But the women's title specifically, and I know we're going to get to it, but to me, Backlash was the perfect opportunity for what, the SmackDown, the SmackDown title to go back to SmackDown, and then you could have Rhea Ripley go after Bianca Belair, who we know because they've already faced off. They haven't had a match, but they've faced off, and Rhea Ripley said that she's coming for that title. Then you open that up for that, and then Rhea Ripley could win the title, the Raw title, and she's on Raw. And then it just organically, you have, I hope that didn't pop my mic too much, but organically you have the titles back where they're supposed to be. But yeah, now it's like, what? I can't remember. Is Asuka a free agent?
No, she's been drafted to SmackDown.
You see, again, like, if she's on the blue brand and Bianca's on the blue brand, why do they have the red belt?
That's where my question is, because you have...
I can explain it in 3 words. Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yeah, honestly, that's the simplest explanation, but that's also the explanation that irritates me.
Yeah.
So here's what I was thinking.
Yes,
I wanted...
Yes. We will have these women wrestle. What do you think, little Vince?
I think if we only have 7 of them, we only have 7.
Yes. But they will still be scantily clad and it'll be wonderful.
And then the one with the face on the thing. We'll put a face on her face.
That's right. But
and then we'll only give one woman's match a whole entire, like, every episode.
What's hard, and this is more of a meta sports thing, any sport that has a title in general. Boxing shot itself in the foot in the early 80s when they introduced 30 titles for each weight class and took a cue from wrestling. And UFC did this, and MMA and other promotions like that. Titles tend to mean nothing. The last place it seems that titles matter is in professional wrestling, which is hilarious. And I agree with what you're saying, to arbitrarily throw them around this way and to make just this cluster bleep of a situation with storylines and whatever else, and what am I following, and does it matter, and does it not matter? It's really hard to untangle now. So you're going to turn off casual fans who want to see heel face champion contender, first contender, this contender. I want to be able to follow it to a degree. And it's okay to break the mold, but do you know why you're breaking it and where you're going with it? And if Asuka doesn't win a freaking title, I'm going to lose my shit.
I think they're just holding off to Night of Champions. That's where we're going to be like, everything's going to fix itself. They're going to be like, no, you're supposed to have this belt now. You get this belt, not this belt. This belt goes over here. Everything's back where it needs to go. They actually officially push the brand split post Night of Champions. I think it's going to be.
And they're just going to arbitrarily hand it to you. You're like, oh, this is yours. Oh, you should take this. Oh, no, can I get that one?
No.
Or I don't think I think they're going to do some sort of.
I don't want another title swap.
I think they're going to do some sort of I think they might just redo all the belts to begin with and just be like, This is SmackDown's now. This is Women's now. We're redesigning them. It's now different.
Yeah.
Unifying Roman Reigns' belt, so there's only a single belt.
Oh, we'll talk
Um,
about Roman in a little bit.
I'm so
unifying the tag title, so there's only a single tag belt. So I do not want to see Roman Reigns walk around with 4 fucking belts.
Yeah,
if
I
he wins.
feel in regards to the belts, the only belt that they have done correctly is the NXT belt, Women's Championship belt, where she went in and she gave it up because she got called up and she left it in the middle of the ring, and then she got carried off by her husband. That was fantastic. And
that also is another thing. I was like, why are the NXT women's champions have the titles on SmackDown? Like, what is happening?
Because they're going to turn those into the SmackDown Women's Tag Team titles, and they're going to bring new belts into NXT.
And that's what sucks is NXT. I haven't watched a lot of NXT, but what I've caught up on because Mikey is a devotee and converted me to the cult.
I'll fill you in.
It's relatively. I don't want to say simple because I don't mean simple like it's simple. I mean it's straightforward. Like we're going point A to point B to point C. Look at the upset point. Like it's moving forward. Fans can follow that relatively quicker. So in a way, and particularly because it's a developmental quote unquote league, and we're fostering this talent. Those belts mean something to NXT because they're hungry. They want the opportunity. So they're fighting for those belts. Those belts mean something there. And this is just me. I would like to think, and I have a hunch that if you're an NXT champion and you've been drafted up into into Raw or whatever else, you're looked at as something special by everyone in those other brands. Yeah, you're down in NXT and you earned it because that's where I earned it. That's where I came from. There's something a little more there.
See, the problem is with the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, they literally just called up the only 2 legit female tag teams that they have because there's like none left. I don't know.
It's that division in NXT and just make it a singles woman division.
Which would be fine because there's enough women in the NXT roster to have a good singles program, not outside with the title and even not with the title. There's a lot of women. Yeah, and you know what? We talked about this off camera. We mentioned what John says is Shawn Michaels not caring. You want to know why he didn't care? Because like the last time we did the WWE draft, main roster just gutted a lot of the NXT stars got called up, and like the last time they had to throw away plans because these stars are no longer involved. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was smart, and I don't know what kind of behind the scenes things that were going on, but I was shocked, but I was also pleasantly surprised that I for sure thought they were going to call Braun Breaker up to main roster.
You know what it is now? I think it's purely because Vince is there and he doesn't want a Steiner.
I would not be surprised, which means probably Braun staying in NXT for a good chunk. I'm interested to see what happens after Battleground, but yeah, the draft was a thing. There's lots of questions.
I'm more mad that Roman and Cody got split up because those 2 were supposed to be fucking fighting each other at SummerSlam for the belts.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again? What happened?
Was it Roman's on SmackDown? Cody's on Raw, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Those 2 were supposed to be the ones going up against each other come SummerSlam for the belts after Roman beats his 1,000-day mark. But no, WWE is just going to have Cody beat Seth Rollins for his belt. And it's just going to be a bunch of bullshit. So Roman can have the belts and beat Superman at WrestleMania 74.
That's what I'm wondering is I wonder how many of these are actually wrestling decisions and how many of these are like USA versus Fox decisions, Adolfo was saying. Because these people are like, I want this talent, that talent. And anyone who's auditioned or knows advertising or marketing people, they don't know what they want. They're just throwing darts all the time. They're looking for money,
or
and
how
views.
much is also what is it? I think Blue Whale or Whale Inc. now. I think is the name of the company the official name of the company that owns UFC and WWE now.
Right, that thing.
I wonder how much
anymore or whatever.
Yeah, they changed their name. I wonder how much of the say they had also in all these random changes.
And there's so much money in the pot, not making wrestling or storytelling decisions. That for us trying to decipher who's going where and why, it was like, no, I gave you this X amount of money, figure it out. That doesn't, okay, but then your product's going to suffer for a while. It's going to be really weird for a while, particularly if you're doing a draft every year. Is this every year they do this?
No, and I'm thankful not. The last time we had the draft was like, what, Honestly, I think the last time we had a draft was like 20. Was it 26? Yeah, 2016 probably.
Okay, so it's been a while.
It's been a very long while. But
You know
see,
what
when
they
they did
want?
the draft in 2016, like they legit actually kept all the stars split, and then that's when we had the brand specific pay-per-views. That was also 2016 SmackDown was like the goated SmackDown because that SmackDown was so fucking good.
You know what? Here's my conspiracy theory on why they're doing this. Video games.
Yeah.
Well,
So here's the
there's big
thing.
money there. That is big money.
WWE, their contract is with 2K, but now since they're under the same company as the UFC, they want to switch their contract to EA. So they're going to bring, because EA does UFC games, so now they're switching it to SmackDown Raw so they can bring back EA SmackDown versus Raw.
Oh shit, that makes way too much sense. You're probably right. Oh,
But they're gonna EA's gonna fuck it up.
EA's
It's
gonna
going
make
to be
it
full
terrible.
microtransactions.
You're gonna be doing an elbow drop, and then halfway down, it's gonna go $3.99 to connect. Oh man, I really hope that's not true.
Oh man.
I came up with it just now, so I haven't said anything. This is all my brain thinking
Because
this.
you were touched by the Holy Spirit, and it's probably true. That's how it came out of nowhere.
Little Vince poked me in the leg and I just got the idea.
No.
Ghost of Dusty Rhodes just flew into you and went, I'm gonna tell you something.
Kind of going back to something that John said though, like this, but in the like 1930s and 40s and 50s, the reason why there were so many wrestling title belts is because each conference, each wrestling thing was its own thing. So that's why you had all these belts. Now that for all intents and purposes, WWE is the monopoly, I feel you don't need the brand specific belts. If you're going to have the red brand, you're going to have the blue brand, have them wrestle it off. And then whoever the best is in each brand, make them the number one contender. So then coming into WrestleMania, they go for the big gold.
That idea is cool. The problem is, though, then it's going to be hard for them to push other pay-per-views because now you don't have those big belts up for grabs.
But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't need the belt, though.
I think their plan is they're going to do brand-specific pay-per-views.
That's so much wrestling.
I think that's what their planning is. So they're adding more and more pay-per-views slowly to increase schedule. So I think they're going to do brand-specific ones, so they need a big belt on each brand.
Yep, money's there. I can see it.
In my opinion, as much as I love women's tag team, I think it's really interesting and really cool to see it.
There's not enough tag teams.
it should, in all reality, it only should be the main belt, the mid-card belt, and a women's belt. That should be it on each brand. That's it.
So if you look at some of the breakdowns that folks have for the draft, not to go full rabbit hole on this, they literally have like overall pick and round and brand pick. And I agree with Adolfo, what Adolfo's saying, and it's not that I don't mean to sound like I'm shitting on having all kinds of belts, but if you're going to do that, unify the belts like Adolfo's saying, and then give me rank weight classes. Give me a 1 through 20, a 1 through 10. Have a 10 compete with a 2 and try to move up in the rank. Like, not everything.
Did AEW do that for a while? That was like their big thing.
AEW for a very long time had the rankings, and that's how they determined who would get title shots and everything. And wow, that was also a mess. At least it made sense in the context of a lot of things. And there were still some questionable moments, but it worked and it made sense.
And you can use that for fodder for stories, right? You can have a 3 fight a 4 or a 10 underdog a 2 and like all crazy stuff like that. And it makes sense. But you got to do it, and you have a way to do it right. But then you don't need 100 belts, like how the NCAA has 100 bowl games. Like you don't need all kinds of weird shit bowls. Magnolia Bowl, Ghostbusters Proton Pack Bowl. I'm just looking at things in my room, and all that one I would probably watch.
Me too, honestly.
As I said that, I was like, that would be fantastic. But anything that kind of unifies it, and then I think the draft works a little better. Because now you're giving opportunities to other folks. Now you have a reason to call them a free agent because they're actually a free agent. NXT talent that's unsigned gets signed on that day. You have a signing day. If you're going to do it, go fully. And
honestly, I think it was because the stench of the draft that made me like have, I don't want to say low expectations, but it definitely had me not feeling Backlash because the draft happened like literally the second night of the draft happened about 6 days before Backlash happened on that Monday Night Raw. So the second night of the draft was the Go Home Raw show for Backlash. And then a couple days later on Friday was the Go Home show for SmackDown, the Go Home show for Backlash. And again, the draft just put a bad taste in my mouth. I think it was funny as hell content, as you heard from our last 2 episodes, because it was just us talking about it and just hanging out and watching. But overall, it made me not excited for Backlash. And then, which we're going to get into right now, Backlash ended up being so much better than it actually had any right to be. And I don't want to say my expectations were low, but holy shit, after the debacle of the draft, I was like, they're going to fuck this pay-per-view up. And I'm just like, you know what? This is a filler pay-per-view, so it's just like, it's going to be whatever. Like, at least it gives me content.
Look at how dark it was, right? You had Vince came back and blew WrestleMania Night 2. Raw and SmackDown have been in a tailspin. You had the stench of the draft, which is a great phrase you just threw out there.
The merger news happening too.
All these things happening and buyouts and other things. Like, and there's rumors, and that was the other thing. Rumors and whispers backstage and this event and that thing, and folks are talking. So
morale was low at one. Yeah. Contract disputes, people threatening to leave because Vince was back.
And part of me going in was like, I feel bad for San Juan and and I almost said country. That would have been bad. And Puerto Rico. Just to be like, yeah, I felt bad. I was like, oh, now they got this gimme pay-per-view. Yeah, here we'll throw you a bone. And it turned out to be something pretty special.
Oh, heck yes. So let's get into part 2 of this episode and let's talk about Backlash. Alrighty, so Backlash. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to put out a disclaimer. Hence my title, The Nerdy Puerto Rican. I am from Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico, so I am super biased to Backlash. So I just want that out there so that our beautiful listeners in Finland or Canada or whatever, when they hear my thoughts, they understand where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Yes, I will put my bias out there too. As someone who is considered a mutt because I am Mexican and Puerto Rican, I might or may not have a bias towards this because my people showed out for this pay-per-view. But let's get into the beginning parts of this. So Backlash happened on Saturday, May 6, 2023, hailing from Rico, Jose Miguel coming from the beautiful city of San Juan, Puerto Rico. So yes, this is where the Spanish is going to come out, so deal with it. Okay, so let me just paint you this picture. So the pay-per-view opens...
You got to warm up to it? Is that what's happening? You got to psych yourself out?
No, because I'm thinking about how much fun it was and how proud of being half Puerto Rican it made me that I'm trying to get into it. I'm also preparing myself to cry a little bit as we talk about this. But let me paint you this picture, right? So I want WWE to do more of this, but they opened the pay-per-view with a fucking beautiful drone shot flying into the arena, and then the lights go on and shows the whole entire crowd in that Coliseum, and that was a beautiful shot. So I want WWE, if you ever find this podcast, we want you to do more of that because that was fucking cool as shit.
And if you find this podcast, we're sorry about the dick thing. Moving on.
Nah, this is what got us on the map, and I'm pretty sure people would find that funny. They just can't verbally say it if they work for WWE.
We're not going to fly us to Puerto Rico if we keep doing the dick thing, though.
That's very true. What? Listen,
it's a risk we're willing to take.
Yes, it's a risk we're willing to take. That opening drone shot was amazing. It was beautiful, and I knew something magical was going to happen, and sure enough, that magic kicked off with a bang because we opened up Backlash with Bianca Belair versus Io Sky for the... And again, I might still have problems with them being on SmackDown, but they were fighting for the Raw Women's Championship. Let me tell you, I was not prepared for how many boos I heard for Bianca, which blew my mind. I understand, but to hear it, I was like, oh, damn. And then the crowd was so behind Io during the whole entire match. It was so good.
Mira, I don't know if Io Sky and Damage Control was like out front of the Coliseum fucking handing out arroz con gandules or some shit. but I could not believe how over she was in that match. I was shocked.
Yeah, why? Do you know the history of why Belair was booed or taken so heavy? I have no idea.
See, I can only speculate. I feel like Bianca, because Bianca has held that Raw Women's title for a whole year now. Like, she's beaten Becky Lynch's record, and she currently is the longest reigning women's champion for the Raw title in WWE history. So I think Bianca, and she's not quite there yet, but my speculation is because Bianca wins every single match and she beats every woman on the roster, we're getting onto the levels of John Cena wins LOL vibes. And honestly, like, it's not Bianca's fault. I'm not, like, I never put blame on the talent. Like, they're booking her to continue this long reign because right now WWE, and excuse my language, but WWE has a hard on for records right at the moment, because we'll talk about Roman Reigns in a little bit, because I have questions and I have concerns. But yeah, it was so interesting to hear Bianca get booed and Io get cheered. And they actually had a good match. They didn't get cut time. It was 18 minutes. It was 18 fucking minutes.
They went full 20 minutes. Like nothing. That was fantastic.
I also think, speaking as, I think that Io, because she is more like high flying and stuff like that, and culturally, that's the type of wrestling that not just Puerto Ricans, but that's the luchador and lucha libre and whatnot. That's the type of show that they want. So when they saw Io Sky going and doing all these things, because I feel like the first time Io really got the crowd behind her was, I think, when she did one of her first like high technical moves coming off one of the ropes, and that's when the crowd was really like, yeah, you know what I mean? So I think that's why Io got over more with the crowd than Bianca.
Oh yeah. Let's just talk about the crowd real quick and we'll continue on when we're talking about the match. Listen, American audiences, like, you need to understand, and I saw a video of someone like giving it their opinion, but it made so total sense. I was like, we as wrestling fans in America have been spoiled because we get a lot of access to the WWE, AEW, Impact. Like, there's so many promotions that we have access to and access to all these shows that not a lot of the international audiences get to experience as these major corporations. So I want all of the American audiences to take fucking note, because that's how a crowd needs to be for anything, a pay-per-view, a regular show, even a house show. That's the level that we need to aspire to be in America, because my God, the crowd in that fucking Coliseum in Puerto Rico turned out and showed up, and it was so freaking awesome. Sorry, I got passionate. Let's continue.
No, bottle that shit. That's fantastic. Keep going.
And I think that energy carried through this entire match, because then, like, Bianca was more aggressive this match than I have seen her in quite some time. Since she was getting booed like a heel, she was starting to slowly act like a heel. I was like, you know what? I could get with this.
I was just gonna say that I had a segment of it up on my phone as I'm watching it. The moment, which is classy, the moment she starts getting booed, she starts throwing heel turns right at him and waving her finger and barking at him a little bit. Did you like that? Did you see that? That was really smart. And then it really sets up the ending of this match, which now is, where are you gonna go with damage control? What are you thinking?
Yeah, but before we get into the ending, I think my favorite spot of this whole match is when Io goes up to try to hurricanrana Bianca Belair off the top rope, but then Bianca keeps her there, and then Io tries again, but Bianca doesn't let, and she does a fucking power bomb from the top of the turnbuckle with Io to the mat, and I'm just like, oh God, what was that?
Yeah, that one looked like it hurt. My favorite part of the match was when Bianca was out of the ring and Io Sky went up and did the 450. I thought that was sweet.
Listen, Io is so great. Her moonsaults, when she does these, this is the Io that was in NXT that I fell in love with, And I feel like since her call up from SummerSlam of last year, she really hasn't had a chance to channel that. And honestly, I hope SmackDown push. I mean, because we know that Damage Control is going to break up eventually. We just don't know whether it's coming soon or coming a little bit later. But they need to push Io to the moon because she proved herself and why Triple H signed her to NXT to begin with.
The other thing I just want to really point out very quickly is let me chew first.
As he chooses food.
Yeah,
But it's open.
I caught from the U.S. title picture forward, so I didn't really catch this match yet. Haven't had a chance to catch up on it yet. Sounds like a great match, though.
I'm telling you, Minnie, when you get a chance, please go back because I think this is Io's best on the main roster. And I'm going to be honest, this is probably Bianca's best match in the last couple of months, too, because they were given time.
Yeah. Something I just want to point out really quick. And Mikey, I know you hate it. You hate this word. But the Latin American wrestling viewers, one thing that's really prominent in Latin America and wrestling is the whole face heel thing. There's always a good guy and there's always a bad guy. There's no, unlike which it seems like it's more a US thing where you have some people that are like gray and they're like teetering back and forth between babyface, not babyface, not babyface. You're always going to have a good guy and a bad guy. And the Latin American crowds, they're always going to cheer for the good guy and they're always going to boo the bad guy. But the booing is not a bad thing. That is their cheering for the bad guy. So and that's a cultural thing. I'm not sure if a lot of people know that. So yeah, I'll bring this up again later on because
I've heard that, and I know they mentioned this briefly. I'm glad that you said that. They mentioned this briefly on Tough Enough way back in the day when they were doing the W shows, and then also when I used to watch Lucha stuff and other things. Booing is still, it's the same feel, it's the same reason. If they don't like you, it's silent. And the Latin American community or whatever, wherever you're watching your wrestling or house shows or other things, it's a choice to make no noise. You've done messed up somewhere. They do not like you.
Yeah. Speaking of no noise, right? I'm gonna go on a side tangent and then we'll get back to this. But
Here we go.
Because I have a bone to pick with the Raw crowd that was there after Backlash. That Raw crowd, I have a bone to pick with you because we got an amazing crowd in Puerto Rico, and that was amazing, and it made the whole pay-per-view so amazing. And then y'all were fucking quiet during Raw the entire time. No cheers, no boos, no nothing. And I'm sitting here, I was just like, damn. I was like, you guys suck. Like, I know some crowds like to try to hijack the show, but this was like, if the definition of indifferent was like a physical embodiment, it was that crowd.
I went and watched it after y'all were texting me, and I saw it on Twitter. Said something happened. I watched like 20, 30 minutes of it, and it was a meh Raw to me anyway. But it was dead silent. There was nothing happening. Wow, what? Why? That's so weird. That was Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, I'm like, America, Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville is the home center for AEW, but some people were trying to speculate, be like, oh, it's an AEW crowd. Of course, they're not going to cheer. I'm like, bullshit.
Is that why? A bunch of AEW fans bought tickets to not cheer?
I don't think that even happened. I just think this crowd just sucked in general. But Florida is always weird.
I'm going to say the joke again. They were limp like a biscuit.
Oh my gosh.
Jacksonville's own Limp Bizkit.
Rocking the set like facing your bathroom.
Oh, 1999 and Jinko jeans. That was an easier, simpler time.
Not the Jinko jeans.
I never had them because I couldn't afford them.
Back on track. Let's continue on.
But tangent over. So the ending of this opening match. So Bianca is on the ground as Io. At this point, Damage Control has come out. So Dakota Kai and Bayley come out. And honestly, I dig the neon color scheme that they were going with. But that's neither here nor there. But it started the whole chain of events that happened. So Bianca picks up Io as she's getting ready to do the KOD, sees that Dakota and Bailey try to run interference, and then she uses Io as like a battering ram to hit them off of the. She hits Dakota off of the apron. She goes and tries to hit Bailey, but misses, and this in turn gives Io the chance to escape and get Bianca to the ground. And as Io is going up to do her moonsault finisher, Bailey gets the smart idea, get Bianca's braid, pull it, and pin it to the mat with her arm. The referee sees this. Io's like, what the hell, Bailey? Which gives Bianca a chance to knock Io off, put her in the KOD, and then pin her for a 1-2-3 to retain the Raw Women's Championship. The cracks are starting to show in Damage Control.
I thought that was brilliant storytelling. I thought that was super smart as I watched it. Because I liked watching the cracks show, obviously, but they fought so hard to get to justify this weird turn of an ending. I thought that was really cool. That was a smart idea.
Damage Control is on SmackDown, isn't it?
Yeah, so Damage Control is on SmackDown with Bianca.
It sounds like it's going to be a quick breakup so they can make that 7 go to 10.
That would actually be really good. Make that 7 women on SmackDown be 10.
I think that's why they only drafted 7 individual women to the brand, because they're planning on breaking up Damage Control sooner to up that number to 10.
That Holy Spirit is still talking to you. I think you're right. I think that makes total sense.
Whatever, you know what it is, John? It's whatever compelled you to say that Shane McMahon was going to return at WrestleMania is now talking through me.
You just read the tea leaves. You just conjure up wrestling tarot cards and you just talk to the stars. You will find your way.
I'm drawing in pen on this paper and I'm seeing it in the ink.
Oh, the old Nostradamus trick. Good for you. Okay, that's fine.
It's like that scene in 300 when they go to the oracles and the girls all like in that slow motion scene, except not.
No, less female.
Good knowledge. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's
Go, Mikey, go. Take the reins. Go, Mikey, go.
He's muted again.
Yep, you're muted again.
Quick, someone make a little Vince joke.
Quick, let's talk about Jinko jeans while Mikey's muted. That way we can take over.
We will never talk about Jinko jeans.
Never again. 1999 is dead and gone.
The War of 1996.
Hey, y'all were texting in the chat like, oh, Minnie wasn't even around. I was like, I was born in 98. I'm not that young. I'm not.
That's right. We tried to give you shit because it's like he wasn't even a thought yet.
You were born before the War of Hot Topic. When malls of America were wearing. This is a tangent. Don't let me do it.
Speaking of Hot Topic and outfits, right? So after that opener of a match, the Drip God, as I call him himself, the next match of Backlash was Seth freaking Rollins versus Omos, which, let's be all the way 100. This match had no build whatsoever. It was just like, oh yeah, these two are having a match. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm at Coachella, right? At this point, when that announcement happens, and I'm looking at my phone, waiting for, who was it? I think I was waiting for one of the DJs to come on, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, why is this match happening? What the fuck did I miss?
What I've heard, though, is that WWE Jedi mind tricked people. They put a package on that made people that you could have been convinced that this was a thing going on for months.
And I'm going to tell you why. There's only one reason why this felt this way. It's because they literally only had 2 weeks to build. There was 2 weeks before this pay-per-view when that match was announced. And you want to know why it seemed like this was a long building feud that was about to go off at Backlash? Is because in one singular promo, Seth Rollins proves why he is good at what he does, because he made me give a shit about this match. Because I had no interest, and then one promo, oh damn it, now I actually want to see this shit.
I care about every Seth Rollins match because he's just too damn good at what he does, no matter what he's going up against. If this was anybody else versus Omos, I'd have been like, this match is stupid. Because, I mean, my hatred for that, his wrestling ability is very well known on this podcast. But he's like the biggest, like, little Vince.
But
Omos is like
he is big black meat. What do you think, little Vince?
Omos is the Viagra.
Look at his resume. Oh, his resume says he's 7'2" and weight. Oh yeah, he's fine. Let's do that one.
Yes.
Look at me. I'm 7'2" now.
Instead of Jesus. Omos is instead of the little blue pill that Vince needs, little Vince needs a big black pill. His name is Omos.
The views expressed on this podcast. No, but yes, Seth made me give a shit about this match. And I still was like, you know what? I give this 5 minutes. Seth Rollins, if you do not win this World Heavyweight Championship at Night of Champions, I will riot, because I feel like in this fucking match, you pulled Omos's best match out of him. Yeah. And you created an epic viral moment with that curb stomp from the fucking top rope.
Yep.
Discuss.
It's Omos's longest match.
I can't decide if. So I know everyone's hatred for Omos, and I agree with it, and I'm all behind it, and I agree. Did Seth Rollins make Omos this good? Because Omos had to raise the bar and actually show some sort of acting and talent and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because this is the blueprint for how to sell Omos from here on out. It totally works.
Yeah. And
it just took Seth to bring it there. Go ahead.
John, it's funny you say that, because my wife, Alice, she watched that match with me, and she said the same exact thing. This is what you got to do with Omos to make him legitimate. Seth Rollins, the way that he sold Omos as this unstoppable beast was fantastic. And I have to give Omos, and I might be alone in this, but I have to give Omos his due. I thought it was perfect how when Seth Rollins came in, the crowd was going fucking nuts, right? The stadium was just shaking, and they were doing the oh thing, right? And they let Seth Rollins get in the middle of the ring, and they had the spotlights on him, and the crowd was singing his song, right? And fucking Omos comes in and fucking puts the boot upside Seth Rollins' head. And I thought that was brilliant.
And then to revisit that every 3 or 4 minutes to get the crowd to sing, and then to clean his ear out, and then to mock him for it. That's what you got to sell for that. And that's like you were saying, if you're going to be a heel, and these folks are going to hate you, and you'll earn more hatred, if in lack of a better term.
Yep. But on the flip side of that, which is a testament to how good Seth Rollins is, he did one move and it didn't do a thing to Omos. So then he would do another thing, and like the curb stomp. He did the first time he tried a curb stomp, he goes for the curb stomp and he couldn't move Omos's head. And I get it, like that in the really real world, that wouldn't have happened. But like from a storytelling standpoint, and going back to like that conversation we had a few episodes ago about goofy wrestling and magical wrestling and stuff like that, that's what you need. You need those type of dramatic moments. So then later on, when he does the first curb stomp, the second curb stomp, and then he goes all the way to the top rope to drop the last curb stomp, that it sells that Seth Rollins is fighting a monster.
It's nuts to me that they even allowed him to go to the top rope, because that move was banned for 6-7 months, and they allowed him to go to the top rope and hit this move on a dude who's known for not being the best wrestler, and they still allowed him to do it. So that's a testament how good Seth Rollins is with that move to allow that to happen.
Oh yeah, and I'm like on Adolfo's side too. So I want to make a distinction here. I think Omos as a person, he is literally a gentle giant. If you see his interviews, he's very soft spoken.
Right. We're not jumping on anyone personally. I agree with you. Yeah,
for sure.
But Omos is a great person. Fuck his wrestling.
Yes, exactly. Because I would love to hang out with Omos, because he's a fucking anime nerd, and I want to have conversations with him. And honestly, from like an intellectual perspective too, because he is from Nigeria. So I was just like, so how did anime shape your childhood? Because anime is such a far-reaching thing, and like certain countries have different like what they rank as their top animes across the world, which is like completely different. Again, this is getting too college essay around here, but I would love to have a conversation. But his presentation and his wrestling ability sucks. But I have to give him his flowers, because Seth pulled it out of him, and he did so well selling all what was going down.
He pulled this out of the No Holds Barred Hulk Hogan movie book, right? He went full Tiny Lister, angry face, and selling the thing and doing.
Yep.
If you're gonna go there, go all the way. And I think he found that. I don't know, and I'm not saying I have high hopes, and I'm not saying we'd stop shooting on Olmo. I'm gonna say his name. I keep saying almost. It's funny to me to call him almost. He's
Almost a good wrestler.
almost a good wrestler, but I wonder. Now I have a little bit more of a, okay, maybe they have a use for you, as opposed to just you're 7'2" and Tiny Vince said, make it happen.
You're like, he's like old school Great Khali. You're here because you're big, not because you're good.
But even, yeah, but you could do more with, I would like to think you could do more. It's hopeful. It's a pipe dream, maybe. But guys who are 7'2" have short careers because, your back's going to give out any day now.
Yeah.
I hope to God they do some good and he improves, because if Mikey hangs out with him when I'm there, he might destroy me considering my takes that I've had on him on this podcast. But I hope something good happens with him. I put him back on NXT, let him work. He's a free agent, put him on NXT, let him develop more in ring ability, let him develop mic skills more, let him develop as a professional wrestler as a whole. Then give him a shot and have him be what Braun Strowman was meant to be in his early days of his career.
How long has he been on the main card? You guys know? How long has he been pushed like this? Too long.
All right, let's be fair. Don't make me use your government name, Minnie. Calm down.
You already did.
I mean, that's true. All right, Evan, calm down. And now I know your last name too. So if you're ever in trouble in this podcast, I will say your full name like a teacher. You fucked up if I call you by your full name. Anyways, Omos, I want to say it's been in ring for what, a year and a half now, probably. He was Shane's bodyguard when Raw Underground was a concept, which is like someone was high on drugs when they made that idea came into conception.
What I'm hearing is he's been here for a year and a half too long.
He never went through the NXT, let's train you, let's make you safe. He was just Shane's bodyguard, and then bam, he was on main roster. I was like, what the fuck?
Vince saw him and it was like, I don't need a blue pill anymore. I need this big black pill. And now I'm hard as a rock. Now I'm 7'2".
I'm 7'2" now.
Yes, little Vince.
Being 4'3" is really weird compared to 7'2".
I think that, I don't know, and I'm not defending Omos. It's a tough, if you're going to learn on the fly, be a big man, who not all folks who are this tall are athletic. Just look at the NBA and scholarships and shit like that. So trying to learn this, trying to have an idea for this, I wonder who's telling him or coaching him, or if anyone is, or if they're just trying to say, hey, don't hurt anyone, go out there and do this. But then you get someone like Seth, who finally maybe does it right and goes, hey, we're going to put the work in, we're going to put the time in, I'm going to show you all these things. And realizing, oh, okay, I'm going to have to sell the shit out of this because you're not gonna, or you're going to only meet me so far. I have the tiniest bit of hope that maybe we'll still hate this Omos in general, but they'll find a way to use him.
He's a free agent. Put him on NXT. They just took a bunch of NXT guys away. It's a perfect opportunity to move him down, and give him an opportunity to learn everything he needs to learn and be coached and actually become a dominant.
Right.
Because it looked like he has the ability to do it. We've seen it. We're like, oh, we know what's in you. We just got to pull out of your ass and hit you over the head with it.
And then have him win the Royal Rumble next year, and everything will be fine.
No, absolutely fucking not. Find my center.
John, I know you're the voice of Little Vince, but we don't need you to be Little Vince.
You're halfway there. You're bald. As long as you don't get veiny, you're fine.
If all of a sudden, if I lose an eye in a horrible accident, something's gone wrong.
The other issue, I think, is that the WWE as a whole doesn't have the backstage leaders like they used to have. I watched this one interview with Paul White, Big Show, and he said that kind of when he first came on the scene, it was an almost situation where they just brought him in because he was big and they had him squashing people and this, that, and the other. And apparently it was Undertaker who historically had been the one in backstage who would go to these new wrestlers and tell them to pull their heads out of their asses. But Undertaker basically told Big Show, pull your head out of your ass, and coached him And Paul White in this interview was saying that thanks to Taker doing that, he was able to elevate and learn a lot more. So I don't think that nowadays there's anyone backstage that's doing that with this new talent.
No, because like even when Taker was there, he was still there. But yeah, like Cena and Orton, but Orton's been hurt since Timbuktu, and Cena's not there. And the only person they really have, the only two old heads I would say you can say old heads they have backstage like on a regular basis is Mysterio and Edge. And it's like, how do you help a big dude when the two guys are trying to help you?
Tiny dudes.
Is
what's hard?
5'4" Mysterio and Edge.
I agree, and imagine being jerked around the way these wrestlers are, right? Like here, we have a group of 100. You're gonna be in a different city every night for a year. You trying to build camaraderie, trying to build, like you were talking about, old heads and folks in the same locker room every day. Who's the leader? Who's been around? Who knows this? Who knows that? Yeah, it's not there. You could argue that Roman is in a position to do that. That all Usos and Bloodline, Sami Zayn and KO are in that spot too. They've been around a while. They can coach these folks up. But again, that's a handful of folks. I'm sure all the women's division has a few of these veterans too. But you're right. That kind of speaks to what is the culture behind the scenes. Are there leaders? Are there people telling the truth to them?
Yeah.
There's plenty of videos of Sheamus working out with Finn Balor, so they have friendships.
I'm assuming it's probably changed a lot because I think when that year that Vince was gone, like a lot of that was starting to come out more. We're seeing more of those leaders and everything like that helping people. But since Vince is back and reportedly we're hearing that morale is in the grave at this point.
It screams micromanager to me so hardcore. And so like I think when you have a micromanager type of personality, like nobody wants to step up into the leadership role because you have somebody who's micromanaging everything. And
no, because the only person that can really stand up to Vince and tell him to sit the fuck down is Brock Lesnar.
And Brock is a part-timer.
Like, he's not there all the time. I only say that because Brock got pissed at a match and threw his belt at Vince, and Vince didn't do shit. Like
Vince also, and this is another thing we can unpack, but Vince loves to do the poor me thing, right? Makes a decision, then turns around and goes, I don't know why Brett hit me. It was just a match in Montreal. You know what I mean? I don't know why.
He's very vindictive.
Tries to find this reason to be like, I'm just running a business, and it's a business, and it's never anything. Screwing people over all the time. This is a rant. This is going to take us away from this. But there's also this idea of Vince. You can come to an idea with someone like Vince. Vince will say, okay, we'll try your idea, and then let that idea fail. And now Vince has leverage over you for the rest of your career. And
lest you forget, that's what happened with Black and Gold NXT when he put them up against Dynamite and AEW. And then when it didn't do the numbers, Vince was like, oh, you know what? Hunter, you did your best, but I'm going to come in. We're going to take care of NXT. I was like, you did that on purpose. You wanted it to fail so bad because NXT was becoming what everybody was talking about rather than Raw and SmackDown. And he got jealous. I don't give a shit.
There's all kinds of behind the little scene stories like that. No. But I digress. Quick, back to the Backlash.
Back.
So we established this. The curb stomp from the top rope from Seth to Omos got Seth the win. This ended up not being the pee break match, and we'll talk about what my pee break match was down the road. And honestly, this next match, even though it was like only 7 minutes long, I was entertained. This is sports entertainment. You had the triple threat for the United States Championship between Twig, Austin Theory, and then you had the two beefy, meaty men of Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. My Kiwi gets done so dirty, but it's okay. I love Bronson Reed.
He's doing such a damn good job. I fucking hate Austin Theory. He's so fucking slimy, and he's doing such a good job at this heel roll.
His theme song still sucks ass. I hate his theme song.
So bad. Oh my god, he's doing such a good. He needs to lose.
Is there a reason Bobby Lashley doesn't have eyebrows?
Because he makes it look like a magic 8 ball. I don't know.
He flexes them up.
Oh, he's flexed them off.
Instead of
That's
ripping his
hilarious.
shirt when he flexes, instead of ripping the shirt when he flexes, his eyebrows just.
His eyebrows
I'm
Don't
glad I asked that question. Those answers are perfect.
fucking hate Austin Theory. So good job, Theory. You did such a good job with this role. Fuck you, dude.
Austin Theory
Oh,
is a really great heel. Is solving it perfectly. He represents America. That's how the rest of the world sees Americans, as Austin Theory. That's exactly what it
That's-
is. I'm gonna know the
that's-
words to my own shitty theme song and sing them right back out to you. Yeah.
This is exactly how my character, for the people who watch Friday Night Fights, my character James Starr the one time I got to play him is very Austin Theory-ish. He is a self-righteous asshole that thinks his shit don't stink, and that's exactly what Austin Theory is. And God damn it,
I like this match.
This match
thought it
was a
This
lot
match
of
was
fun.
awesome.
A lot
That's
of these triple threat matches are hit or miss for me. Which we're not talking about this, but the Edge Rey Mysterio, whatever the hell that was the other night.
Oh
was
my gosh,
garbage.
we'll talk about it because that was
Um,
doo doo. That
if we-
ending was
if we
doo
have time,
doo.
it was
That
just-
match, 3 incredible wrestlers had the opportunity to be one of the best matches in how
It
long?
sucks
in
the
this-
life out of me.
and like to go back and revisit this and then be like, oh yeah, that's how it's done, and then to watch that on SmackDown was like, I'm turning it off. I'll watch this later.
That ending to that match is horrible.
It's just, but with these three with Bronson Reed and going back to the
Bobby
cool
and
shit,
Austin, this match
Yeah.
was so good. I enjoyed it.
Not a single miscue. It was clean. Everything was set up beautifully. The camera angles were great here because I was surprised by some of these splashes that Bronson threw. All of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, he landed on the ground."
See,
There was
Bronson is
one-
so agile. It's crazy.
There was
Ridiculous.
one botch. I'm not sure if you guys ever caught this. Austin Theory was diving back into the ring. He's diving between the bottom and the middle rope and rolling, and the ref was in the way. I remember seeing
Saw
that.
that.
I was like,
I saw that.
"What?"
I was like, the ref almost got bowling pinned.
Yeah, he was diving back in to break up a pin. He was diving
And
between the ropes, rolling in, and the ref was standing in the way.
I was like, sir, you need to
That would
not.
have been all bad. Wow.
But yes, I want to go back to this real quick.
Go ahead.
See, I'm aware of Bronson Reed from NXT and also his short stint in New Japan before coming back to WWE and being re-signed by Hunter. Bronson Reed is a big guy, but he is like Keith Lee levels of athleticism. Like he will jump from the top rope. He will do crazy feats of fancy, whatever you want to call it. Like I love Bronson Reed and I'm mad that he took the pin, but it does, since Bobby and Austin are now on SmackDown, I'm assuming this feud is going to continue because the way this match ended is that Bobby had dead to rights to win this, and Bronson jumped from the top rope. He was trying to do a tsunami, but that ended up missing. And as Bobby was like, a spear was hit, and as soon as Bobby was ready to do the pin, Austin grabs Bobby, throws him out of the ring, and then pins Bronson Reed for the 1, 2, 3. And your United States champion is Austin Theory. And Bobby was just like, why? That match was really good. I'm sad it was short, but it is what it is. But for 7 minutes, this triple threat was actually a lot of fun.
I don't know if they could have gone much longer. Like, I wonder if there might have been a point where they either got gassed or they were like, yeah, what else do you want to do? Because then they're just going to start getting hurt. But I'd rather a match like this, I'm like, leave them wanting more. I would love to watch that again.
I would love to see Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley, and Gunther for the IC belt.
Oh,
And just
that's a
4
lot of
minutes
meat in the ring.
and just like 3 minutes of chops, just all the way around.
That's how it was at Mania.
Drew,
Chop.
it was Sheamus,
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
Gunther. Oh God, that match was so beautiful. Speaking of beautiful matches, so this next one, and this is the part where I cried a little bit. So next for the SmackDown Women's Championship, you had Mommy Rhea Ripley defending her title against Zelina Vega. So I love me some Rhea Ripley. She is Mommy.
Selena Vega's ring gear was incredible.
You talk about being
She got
touched by
some-
the
she
Holy
got-
Spirit. I went
she
to
got some
church when she
abs.
came out Yes, I went to church when she came out in that ring gear. I was like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. And this is the part where I started. This is the first match that made me cry because Zelina Vega came out. That ring gear was fire, by the way. And then when she lifted up her arms and it showed the Puerto Rican flag, I lost my shit. I cried. And then what made me cry even more was before the match even started, when they were announcing the participants and Zelina was physically crying and holding back her tears when they were announcing her fucking name. And the whole entire arena just erupted into a cheer when they announced her name. I was just like, I know she's not going to win, but damn it, you make me believe.
Yeah.
She got damn close. She got real close to winning.
Yeah.
I could have gone either way with this actually going in. I wonder if they. I knew, right, it was stacked against her, not going to let Rhea lose it so quickly, all this sort of stuff. There was a part of me that was like, you know what? I wonder if they'll do it. Because they're already in Puerto Rico. The crowd is here. They got what they wanted. Maybe they do, and then maybe this becomes a storyline for a little while.
I would hate it because I know exactly how it would have played out. If she would have won it, they would have then gone to Raw. She would have done a rematch clause and kicked the fuck out of her and took the belt back. That's exactly how they would have done it.
That's how it always goes down, unfortunately.
Sure, but we would have had.
It would have been an awesome feel-good moment that would have lasted 24 hours.
But now you have a whole island that hates Rhea Ripley. Like, that could have been, and like, you could have healed. Not that she needs more energy behind being a heel, but I feel like you could have ran that story out pretty well if you really wanted. I don't know.
I think Zelina will come back around into the championship picture because I think this match, while I knew she wasn't going to win, the one thing I think it did very well for Zelina, it reminded people, you do realize she can wrestle. And granted,
oh yeah,
Rhea for the most part was throwing her around the ring, but, and this is a dirty word, but go look at her TNA matches when she was in TNA. Like, homegirl can wrestle, but I would like to also give kudos to Rhea Ripley selling that. Her sells of the DDTs from Zelina has become my favorite things now because they look violent.
The most underrated thing I think that people forget that Rhea's good at, she's damn good at selling things. Her facial expressions are incredible when she sells moves.
I saw today, as a matter of fact, on Instagram, I saw an interview with Rhea Ripley and or the wrestler that plays Rhea Ripley.
The character.
The character.
Me too. I saw the same interview.
Oh man. it was I love seeing stuff like that in this case because the actor combatant that plays Rhea Ripley was just like Zelina. She came out, she looked beautiful, it was her hometown. I really felt I wanted to smile when I heard the crowd cheering, but I had to have a conversation with myself and I was like, I'm Rhea Ripley. I gotta act like Rhea Ripley right now. But she really she really wanted to, and also to her credit, I think had a last minute call been made for Rhea Ripley to lose the title, she would have been fine with that in this case because she was just moved by that whole experience. A credit to Rhea Ripley. She's a great wrestler. Both in the mat and like out of the ring too.
An awesome human being.
Yeah.
She really is. And everyone needs to remember she's only like 26, 27 years old. Yeah. And for her to have that perspective so young in her career is a beautiful thing. And it's going to carry her far. The DT spot was a highlight. What made this match 10 out of 10 just from a comedic standpoint is Zelina's family was in the front row. She went to Abuelita and she got the chancla and threw it at Rhea Ripley. That shit had me rolling on the floor.
Yep.
I really wish that had connected and Rhea took a fall. That would have been hysterical. That would have been
so good. Or she started beating her with the chancla.
Yeah, that was a moment that happened.
Like, give me like Ray and Dom part 2 with an actual chancla.
Yeah. Apparently the chancla did have Rhea Ripley's name on it.
Fantastic.
That is so beautiful. But alas, go ahead.
I loved hearing Pendejo in an Australian accent.
Yes!
I thought that was really funny.
Yes!
Hey, Pendejo, what'd you just say? And just trying to throw out. It seems like this was a common occurrence. The folks that don't speak of the Spanish were just throwing out choice words every now and then, just throw things out there. It was just really funny.
Yeah.
But this was a great, like we were just talking about heels and whatnot. Rhea Ripley's a beautiful heel. And it did that mocking thing, grabbed Zelina's face and went you right next to her face at one point, and then
And then even grabbed her and was like walking her towards the crowd and doing
and
that.
held her there. You see this? You see what you did? Like, all
Like, this your girl?
Yes.
Oh, hold up. Bam, on the floor.
Beautiful. And really feeling that out and doing it. And she's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's just obvious, right? Like, we can
for
say
sure.
that now. Like, it's going to happen.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I'm replaying it right now. I just saw that beautiful whirly bird DT thing and just nothing but hair and legs. It's beautiful. Anyway, carry on, Mike.
Yeah, but alas, unfortunately, Mommy gets Zelina Vega, does the riptide, pins her 1, 2, 3. And this is what I love. So Rhea leaves the ring, and then Zelina gets up. Obviously, she lost the match, but oh my God, the standing ovation that she received after the match. When she stood up in the ring, Zelina's disappointed. She lost, but that fucking crowd was, oh my God. That was also another. I cried at the beginning of the match and I cried at the end because that crowd made me believe. I was just like, I swear to God, WWE, if you don't start pushing Zelina Vega so very soon, I'm going to fight and I'm going to write a very strongly worded letter because I am unapologetically a fan of Zelina. I know what she's capable of the ring. She is also my nerd card. She is my cosplay queen. Her cosplays are so much fun. She also happens to be married with one of my favorite AEW wrestlers at the moment, in Malachi Black. Yeah. I always laugh every time I see pictures of the.
Yes, sir.
That chant was, oh my gosh. The crowd just was amazing. And she getting that standing ovation, just, I love those moments. I was like, you got to remember, these are human beings underneath these wrestling characters. And I loved seeing it. And I'm just like, this was very perfect. Speaking of perfect, so.
Yeah. Oh, and really quick, another personal, so Zelina Vega was actually born in Queens. So
right.
She was coming back home to Puerto Rico, but that is a very